Take one.
Action.
What do you think?
This refers to the ways images are shot, sounds are recorded, and the two are edited together. Documentary makers, however, don't simply record life as they see it. They determinately transform it, with the conscious aim of giving it a structure and often a resonance that it lacks in reality. They take facts or available evidence and weave them into a coherent whole. James tells us to shut our eyes and think of yonder clock on wall, and you get such a true picture or copy of its dial. But your idea of how it works, unless you're a clockmaker, is much less of a copy. Yet it passes muster, for in no way clashes with reality. Although he was talking about truth and not about film, this makes for the perfect metaphor. Filmmakers show the audience a vivid image of the clock on the wall and its dials. If it does not clash with the audience's reality, even though it is much more of an echo, the object can be held as true. Now, a lot of how we view films today and understand filmmaking techniques has to do with our own personal media literacy. It's essentially another language, another way of understanding things. Back when people first saw Arrival of a Train by the Lumiere brothers, they actually screamed in the audience because they thought the train was going to come through the screen and run them over. Now, viewers today have a much higher media literacy. This means that filmmakers have progressed past just having a stationary shot with minimal movement on the screen. Most early films were much like this. One shot from point A to point B made up your entire film. Then one day, a cinematographer had a happy accident. He noticed that his camera had jammed halfway through a shot, so he proceeded to bang it. And when he banged it, the characters on the screen suddenly transported. And that was our first edit. Now, what had actually had occurred is what we call a jump cut. But to Georges Méliès, this was essentially magic. He took it and ran with it in his films. All of a sudden, a mouse would walk across the screen, turn into a large mouse, and then shoot into a man. This was essentially film's first magic trick. Now, Méliès mostly worked in fiction film. However, this is important to keep in mind when you watch non-fiction film, because essentially any time there's a cut, it's a little bit of film magic. Currently we're looking at a boat, but what we're hearing is a woman who is lying on the sand speaking. Now, this doesn't really change the essence of reality. Now, they did open with a boat, and it did have different audio underneath it. However, the boat being on screen has no bearing on the truth that the Maisel brothers are recording. It's just simply something to add to the aesthetic appeal of the film. Audiences at this point don't want to see one continuous shot. They want to see intercuts and B-roll of other action while they're hearing what's being said. It has no bearing on the importance of what's being said, it just adds to the viewing experience. Now, in Sergei Vertov's Man with a Movie Camera, we can see what we call a match cut. Vertov cuts back and forth between a close-up of the pulley system that is dragging him across the waterfall and the basket that's holding him. Now, these are two independent clips happening at different times, but when cut together, look like one continuous piece of action. Now, in this sequence, we see Vertov overlay different sections of film. This is in order to get an accordion to appear in a speaker. Most audience members don't take this as an actuality,
But because this isn't reality, does that mean that this can't reveal truth? Well, it depends on your take. Cinema verite is a style of documentary film that says that improvisation is okay as long as the camera is used to unveil the truth or highlight subjects hidden by a cruel reality. Now, editing isn't the only technique that you can use to manipulate an audience's emotions or make something more cinematically appealing. Leni Riefenstahl in Triumph of the Wills decides to take a low-angle shot on Hitler. This makes the subject seem like it denotes power. It is stronger than us because it is looking down on us. The opposite is true for a high-angle shot. If you look down on your subject, it makes them seem weak and insignificant. You can also dirty up the frame. This means to add objects to the scene. It gives your subject the appearance of being trapped because they're actually physically trapped in the space on the screen. Also can be used to say that they're hiding something, simply because they're behind other objects. The other way to manipulate the audience is to actually bring them in close to your character. The closer that the audience feels to your character, the more intimate the relationship they think they're developing with them is. We can see this utilized quite well in Claude Lanzmann's film Shoah. Lanzmann interviews Abraham Bamba, a Holocaust survivor. Abraham was assigned the job of barber in the concentration camp, a job which he has not done since the day he left. Knowing this, Lanzmann rents out an entire barber shop for the filming of this sequence, for the retelling of Bamba's story. Abraham's tasks included shaving the heads of women and children before they entered the gas chamber. Lanzmann asks him what essentially it's like to see his family and friends shave their heads and lead them to their certain deaths. Bamba gets choked up. Lanzmann zooms in. This way we can join in his pain and agony. The closer we are to him, the closer we feel to his story.
Go on then, you must go. You have to.
It's too hard.
Please. We have to do it. You know it.
I won't be able to do it.
You have to do it. I know it's very hard. I know and I apologize.
Another important factor in non-fiction filmmaking is the subjects of the film.
Arguments can be made to the contrary, but non-actors, this is real people who play themselves, rather than costume actors, take leading roles in documentaries.
Her name is Oya. Oya Koda. And this, by the way, is from quite another film. A sequence on the fine outdoor sport of girl watching. Our sneaky crew of cameramen, hidden away in camouflaged trucks and packing boxes, arranged for her to act for them. To act as bait. You see how it works. The entire cast, all the performers, except one, acting away like crazy for us without getting paid for it, without even knowing they were movie actors. Simple larceny. Well, maybe not simple. That year, nothing was simple.
Now, when shooting a non-fiction film, you want to have as many real subjects as you can. Strangely, though, in Robert Flaherty's Nanook of the North, Flaherty replaces Nanook's real family with a family that he collected because they were the most attractive Inuits that he could find. This brings into question the truth revealed by this video. Has reality been altered past the point where we can consider it truth? Yes, Nanook's temporary wife for this film is biting his boot, which is something that his real wife would do, but is this showing truth? And if we are willing to accept Flaherty's film as truth, why not something like the fiction film that Roberto Rossellini made? Open City is an Italian neo-realism film, which essentially means they use a limited number of actors, and most of the cast is comprised of people who were living in the time period. The purpose of Rossellini's films is to reflect the emotions of the people that are in his films. So again, is this just another example of cinema verite? Improvisation with the use of a camera to unveil truth, hidden behind a crude reality? Sometimes, however, it's more important that your characters are in real situations rather than real people. These are little lemmings, and in 1958, James Auger did a documentary called White Wilderness. We've all heard the rumors that lemmings commit suicide, but in actuality, this is an urban legend started by Auger. He instructed his crew to honk their horns and actually in some cases kick the lemmings off of the cliff. Here's an example where the essence of reality was definitely changed. The subjects are authentic. However, there is no authenticity to the situation they were put in, making this scene completely uncredible.
It's not given to man to understand all of nature's mysteries.